A charged turning point.
I'm
I
on the
didn't expect
phone.
the silence between us to feel louder than the ticking clock on her wall. She had asked me to come over
What
because her
did they
kitchen
say?
light wouldn't turn on. A small thing, really. Something any neighbor could have helped with. But when I stepped into her house, I knew right away this wasn't just about a light bulb. Her place smelled faintly of coffee gone cold, papers stacked neatly on the counter, like she'd been busy with something before I knocked. She stood by the sink, arms crossed, a woman in her mid-40s who carried herself with the kind of composure I didn't have yet, though she tried to hide a nervous shift in her shoulders. "You didn't have to come so quick," she said, her voice softer than I remembered. "I wasn't doing much," I replied, fumbling with the light switch. I could feel her eyes on me as I climbed onto the small stool to check the fixture. The air felt heavier than it should have, too much space between us, yet not enough to breathe freely. The bulb was fine. The wiring wasn't. I told her I could take a look, maybe fix it. She hesitated before nodding. "If you don't mind." I didn't. I pulled the cover off, hand steady at first, but the silence behind me grew longer. I heard her shifting, her breath catching once when the metal scraped. I wondered if she noticed how I avoided turning my head, because if I did, I'd meet her eyes and lose track of what I was supposed to be fixing. "So," she started, then stopped. Pause stretched. "You don't usually stay out this late, do you?" I smiled faintly, even though she couldn't see it. "Guess not." The wires finally lined up, and when I twisted them together, the light flickered back to life, bathing us in soft yellow. For a second, the glow made the room smaller, closer. I climbed down, wiping my hands. "You make it look easy," she said, half smiling. It wasn't. I glanced at her. Our eyes caught, and she didn't look away right away. That tiny pause, too long to be casual, shifted something in my chest. I should have left then, said goodnight, walked out, gone back to my own quiet space. But instead I leaned against the counter, still a little too close, still waiting for something I didn't name. She noticed. Her fingers tapped against the coffee mug, uneven, distracted. Then, almost under her breath, she said it. "I was thinking about you." The words hung in the air like smoke. I wasn't sure I'd heard right until she looked up at me, and there it was. Uncertainty in her eyes, but also something else. Something neither of us was supposed to admit. I swallowed. My throat felt dry. The right thing would have been to pretend I didn't hear. But I'd been waiting for a chance like this without even realizing it. "I was hoping you were," I said. Her lips parted. No reply at first, just a flicker of disbelief, or maybe recognition. She set the mug down, slow, deliberate, as if her hands needed something to do. Then she whispered, almost breaking her own words in half, "I shouldn't be doing this." I took a step closer, not touching, just close enough for her to feel the pull I couldn't hide anymore. "Neither should I." Her breath caught again, sharper this time, and she looked at me like she wasn't sure whether to send me away or let me stay. And that was the moment, when the space between us narrowed, when the excuses started to run out, that everything changed. An ending on tension. Her words echoed even after she said them, as if the walls themselves had swallowed them and were whispering them back to me. I shouldn't be doing this. I knew why. Everyone would know why, if they saw us standing in that small kitchen. Her, a woman who carried years and stories I hadn't lived yet, and me still figuring out who I was supposed to be. The lines between us weren't drawn in the room, but outside of it. People talk. They always talk. But she was the one who let the silence stretch, like she wanted to see if I'd fill it with something I'd regret. Instead, I just watched her. The way her fingers trembled when she tried to lift the mug again. The way she blinked too fast, like she was covering something raw underneath. I said quietly, "You don't have to explain." Her laugh came sharp, almost bitter. "Don't I?" She shook her head, looking down. I've made enough mistakes. I don't want to add another one." Mistakes. The word cut deeper than I expected. I wondered if she meant me, if even standing here, letting me see her like this counted as one. My chest tightened. I wanted to tell her I didn't see her that way, not at all. But instead, I caught myself staring at the loose strand of hair brushing her cheek, the faint shadow under her eyes that no one else would have noticed. She looked tired, but not in a way that sleep could fix. I leaned back against the counter, forcing my voice steady. "You don't look like someone who ruins things." Her eyes lifted then, soft and startled. For a second, she didn't say anything, and I thought maybe I'd gone too far. But then her lips parted, not to argue, but to admit something that made her shoulders sink a little. "I just got out of something. It wasn't good. And now I don't even know what I want, or if I should want at all." The confession hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't just the words. It was the way she looked at the floor when she said them, as if saying them out loud meant handing them to me to carry. I swallowed hard. My thoughts were a mess. Part of me wanted to reach out, tell her she deserved more than whatever pain she'd been dragging behind her. Another part of me knew that if I did, I might cross a line we couldn't walk back from. Still, I couldn't help noticing the way her sleeve brushed against my hand when she shifted closer to put the mug in the sink. The contact was nothing, barely a graze, but my skin burned where it happened. She caught me watching her. Instead of pulling back, she lingered, her arm close enough that I could feel the heat through her sweater. "Stay a little longer," she said quietly, not looking at me but at the faint glow of the light I'd fixed, as if the bulb itself might answer for me. I opened my mouth, almost ready to say something I knew I shouldn't, something that would make it impossible to leave. And then she touched my arm. Just enough to undo every reason I had to walk away. Her hand lingered on my arm longer than it should have. Just the weight of her fingertips, light as they were, sent a pulse through me. I tried to steady my breathing, but she must have noticed. I wasn't as composed as I wanted to be. I told myself to step back, to make space, to laugh it off as nothing. But when I looked at her, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Not just loneliness, not just regret, something that mirrored what I'd been carrying in silence. I opened my mouth. The words came close. "I think about you too." But before I could say anything, her phone rang. The sound cut through the air like a warning bell. She jumped slightly, hand pulling away, and for a moment we were strangers again, caught in a light too bright. She fumbled for the phone on the counter, pressed it to her ear. Her voice softened, the way people do when they don't want the caller to hear what's really going on in the room. "Yes, no, it's fine, just at home." I turned away, giving her the courtesy of space, but my ears still caught every pause, every careful tone. Whoever it was, she wanted them to believe nothing unusual was happening, that she was alone. When she hung up, she let the phone rest on the counter, face down. She exhaled slowly, as if that small call had reminded her of the world waiting outside the walls of her house. "Sorry," she murmured. "It's fine." I tried to sound casual, but my chest still felt tight. Her eyes lifted toward me again, softer now, like the call had broken something in her and left it exposed. "I don't usually let people in like this." The way she said it, it wasn't about the kitchen or the light. She meant me. She meant tonight. I took a step closer before I realized it, drawn to the fragility in her voice. "Then why me?" I asked. She blinked, hesitated, as though she hadn't expected me to ask. Her lips parted, but no answer came. Only silence, heavy and full of everything she wasn't saying. The distance between us shrank without either of us deciding. I could see the faint line of her collarbone, the way her chest rose too quickly, the way her hand hovered near the edge of the counter like she needed something to hold on to. I told myself to pull back, that this was already too far. But the more I thought of leaving, the harder it was to move. Then her fingers brushed mine, not by accident this time. A deliberate, hesitant touch, as if she wanted to see if I'd recoil. I didn't. The sound of the clock filled the silence, ticking louder, louder, like it was marking the exact second everything could tip. Her lips trembled. My breath caught. And for one suspended moment, I knew. If either of us moved even an inch closer, there'd be no undoing it. The air felt too heavy for such a small room. Every second stretched longer than it should have, like time itself was holding its breath. Her fingers still touched mine, lightly, but not enough to claim it wasn't on purpose anymore. Not enough for either of us to pretend. I forced a swallow, but my throat was dry. "You don't have to," I began, though I wasn't sure if I was warning her or myself. Her eyes lifted, steady and unflinching now. "Maybe I want to." The words stopped me cold. I searched her face, looking for hesitation, for regret already forming. But all I found was a kind of vulnerability that disarmed me. "You said you didn't know what you wanted," I reminded her, my voice low. "I don't." She let out a shaky breath, eyes flicking away, then back again. "But right now it feels like I do." That cracked something in me. For weeks, months maybe, I told myself it was one-sided, that she was too far away, that she'd never look at me the way I looked at her. And now, with her standing inches away, admitting this, I felt the ground slip under me. I should have stepped back. I should have been the one to draw the line. Instead, my hand turned, catching hers in my palm. Her skin was warm, trembling. "This is dangerous," I whispered. Her lips curved in a broken smile. "I know." The honesty in her voice was almost worse than denial. I tightened my grip, not pulling her closer, just anchoring myself to the moment. Then she asked, quietly, "Do you ever think about it? About us?" My chest burned. Could have lied. Could have laughed it off. But the truth had been waiting too long. "All the time," I said. She froze, breath caught, eyes widening just enough for me to know she hadn't expected me to say it out loud. Silence filled the space between us, but it wasn't empty. It was charged, vibrating with everything that had been left unsaid until now. The clock ticked, the refrigerator hummed, and still neither of us moved. Her lips parted, and for a heartbeat I thought she was going to close the gap, erase the line we'd been circling all night. Instead, her voice slipped out, raw and trembling. "What are we doing?" The question landed like a strike, pulling me back into myself. I searched for an answer, but none came. Because I didn't know. Because maybe the truth was that I didn't care. My heart pounded as I looked at her, her hands still in mine, her eyes waiting for something I couldn't give. Or maybe I could if I let myself. I opened my mouth, ready to speak, but no words came. Only a silence so full it felt louder than anything I'd ever heard. Her question, "What are we doing?" still hung between us when the sound of another phone buzz broke the silence. Not hers this time. Mine. I fumbled in my pocket, pulling it out just to stop the noise. But when I saw the name flashing across the screen, my blood ran cold. It was her last name. Her son's name. She caught it instantly. Her eyes narrowed, confusion sharp in her voice. "Why is he calling you?" I froze. I hadn't meant for it to come out this way. I'd promised myself I wouldn't mention it tonight. Not while I was here. Not when the air between us was already too fragile. But the truth had slipped in through the cracks anyway. I know him," I admitted, voice unsteady. "We've been in the same class. A couple of projects together." Her face changed, shock, disbelief, then something colder. She stepped back, her hand pulling from mine. "You should have told me." The distance she put between us felt wider than the room. My chest tightened, panic rising. "I didn't want this to be about that. I didn't want you to see me as his friend?" She cut in, her voice sharp but trembling. "As someone who sits across from him in a classroom and then walks in here pretending none of that matters?" Her words stung, but not because she was wrong. Because she was right. I had walked in telling myself it was innocent. that fixing a light was nothing more than a neighborly favor. But I'd also been carrying this secret, this overlap between us I couldn't erase. I never meant to lie, I said, my throat tight. I just didn't want it to end before it started. Her hand gripped the counter like she needed it to stand steady, her breathing uneven. I thought she might throw me out then, end it, draw the line herself because I hadn't. But instead, she whispered, almost breaking on the words, "Do you know what this looks like?" Yes. I swallowed hard, forcing myself not to look away. I know. And I still can't stop. That broke something in her composure. She looked at me then, not with anger, but with a rawness I hadn't seen before. A fear that wasn't just about what people might say, but about what she herself might feel. Her voice softened, almost pleading. You can walk away now. Pretend this never happened. Say you were just fixing the light, and nothing else. The way she said it told me she wanted me to, needed me to, but at the same time her eyes betrayed her, holding me there, waiting for me to stay. I took a step forward, closing the distance she'd made. My voice shook, but I didn't care. I can't pretend. Her lips parted, but she didn't speak. She just looked at me, caught, cornered, vulnerable, while the truth between us shifted everything we thought we could ignore. Her silence pressed heavier than her words ever could. She stood there, still gripping the counter, like if she let go she might collapse under the weight of it all. I wanted to reach for her again, but my hands stayed frozen at my side. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was the moment I should leave. Walk out before we destroyed whatever fragile line was left between us. But then she exhaled, slow and uneven, and her voice cracked as she whispered, "You shouldn't want this." The truth in her tone sliced deeper than any rejection. I wanted to argue, to tell her she didn't know what I felt. But I didn't. I just stepped closer, until I could see the faint glint of tears in her eyes. "I don't care what I should or shouldn't want," I said quietly. "I care about you." Her breath caught. She looked away, shaking her head as if to protect herself from believing me. "You think you do, but you don't know me. Not really. Not the mistakes. Not the nights I wish I could take back. You'd see me different." My chest ached at the way she said it, like she believed she wasn't worth being chosen. I reached out then, gently, my fingers brushing her hand on the counter. She didn't pull away this time. "Then let me see you," I murmured. "All of it. Don't decide for me." She closed her eyes, a single tear slipping down her cheek before she could stop it. And when she opened them again, she didn't hide anymore. "You scare me," she confessed, her voice trembling, "because I don't know how to want this and still keep my life the same." Her words shook me because I felt the same. She wasn't just older or my friend's mother, or the woman who asked me to fix her light. She was someone I could lose myself to. "I don't want your life to stay the same," I admitted. "I want to be in it." The silence that followed was different this time. Not heavy, not suffocating, just raw, like we'd finally stripped away everything we'd been hiding behind. Her hand tightened over mine, and when she finally looked at me, I knew something had shifted. "You shouldn't say things like that," she whispered. "Why not?" I asked. "Because I'll believe you." And then she did what neither of us had let ourselves do until now. She leaned in, closing the last inch of space, her forehead resting against mine. Not a kiss, not yet, but something just as irreversible. For the first time, there were no excuses left. No pretending, no backing out. Just the quiet promise of something we both knew we couldn't undo. Her voice was barely there, but I felt it more than I heard it. "So what happens now?" Her question, "So what happens now?" didn't have an easy answer. It hung in the air, fragile, waiting for one of us to break it. I could have told her what she wanted to hear, that it would be simple, that nothing would change. But that would have been a lie. Everything had already changed. I pulled back just enough to see her face. Her eyes were still damp, her expression unguarded in a way I hadn't seen before tonight. It struck me then, this wasn't just about forbidden timing or hidden feelings. It was about two people who had been carrying different kinds of loneliness and had accidentally collided into each other. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, I admitted, my voice steady even as my chest tightened. But I know I don't want tonight to be something we pretend didn't happen. Her lips trembled into the hint of a smile. A tired smile, one born from surrender rather than ease. "You're too young to be saying things like that," she whispered. "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I'm just finally saying the thing you needed to hear." She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, as if trying to gather the courage to let herself believe me. When she opened them again, her hand slid down to lace her fingers with mine. It was a quiet decision, but it felt like everything. For the first time all night, neither of us tried to fight it. We sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where she must have sat alone countless nights before, staring at that broken light overhead. Only now the bulb glowed above us, steady, warm, as if it too had been waiting for this moment. We talked, not about the danger, not about who might find out, but about small things. About the way she couldn't sleep without tea, about the songs I listened to when I couldn't focus. The kind of things people share when they've finally decided to let themselves be seen. And in those ordinary words, I realized what had shifted. She wasn't just the woman I'd wanted from a distance. She was someone I was willing to fight the silence for. When I finally stood to leave, the night air colder than I remembered, she walked me to the door. Her hand lingered in mine until the last possible second. "No promises," she said, though her eyes betrayed the hope behind the words. "No promises," I echoed. But inside I already knew. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something neither of us could undo, and neither of us wanted to. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?